There I stood, boots sinking into the mud at the edge of what was once a mighty dam, now a raging torrent tearing through the glittering new homes that Stone Creek Homeowners Association had illegally built on my land freeze frame. That's me, Elias Thorne, the man who watched a flood erase an entire suburban empire. You're probably wondering how I ended up here, why no one could stop the water, and what drove me to let it all happen. It began with a betrayal theft of what my grandfather had left me, and a war I hadn't begun, but was darn sure going to conclude when my grandfather Amos Thorne died. He left me something more than Landa left me, more than a legacy. A sprawling expanse of wild country fields broad enough to breathe in, was dense enough to survive your secrets, and at its center a dam he constructed with his own hands after having endured a flood that almost drowned this valley. That dam wasn't stone and dirt, it was a document of determination, a bulwark against the fury of nature left to me in a will as transparent as mountain water. For years I lived in quiet, working in town, spending weekends repairing fences, walking the crest of the dam, observing the seasons paint the hills. Tranquility I thought was mine. Then the letter, crisp white, bearing the gold-embossed logo of Stone Creek HOA. I wasn't part of any HOA land set outside town, limits protected by grandfathered zoning from decades ago, but the letter asserted my property was now subject to their community review due to new county maps slithered through a sneaky municipal vote. Curious became outraged when I burst into the next town meeting and saw a slick-haired developer waving multicolored maps, my land swallowed up by their Stone Creek expansion like it never belonged to me. That's when I first met Miranda Hale, HOA president, a walking danger with a smile as sharp as a knife. She played dumb, head tilted like a puzzle bird, denying it was all legal survey mistake fixed. I left that meeting with fear knotting in my stomach. The invasion came quickly. Surveyors ran over my fields without comment. Neon flag stakes sprouted like weeds, each one a jab at my legacy. Then the bulldozers came rolling, carving roads through the pasture, where Amos showed me how to ride foundations for 58 luxury craftsman homes, rose up in sloppy grids before I could blink. I fought back hard, a lawyer, a good man named Tom Carver, but even he winced at the names on the paperwork. County clerks avoided me. Filed complaints, disappeared. Miranda's smile never faltered. Her board members nodding like trained puppets, they branded me as the lunatic, the stubborn fool hanging to old deeds at the following meeting. Miranda, voice full of artificial pity, proposed, I accept their kind buyout before progress outran me. I stood voice thunderous and vowed I'd never sell what my family worked on. The room fell silent. That's when things got nasty. Violation notices stacked up on my truck, fines for non-existent code infractions piled like debt. One morning I awoke to find a sign in my yard announcing my own property at Development Zanino. Trespassing sheriff's deputy shrugged. Calling it a civil matter, every door slammed shut. A clerk at the county recorder's office, risking her job, tipped me off Stone Creek. HOA was bankrolling council campaigns, securing zoning exceptions and inspection waivers through backroom deals. I was outgunned, outmaneuvered, outvoted. Every protest I filed met a countersuit threat accusing me of harassing them. I couldn't win head-on. Oh, wow. I did what Amos would have done. I played the long game. I went quiet, stopped attending meetings, let the stakes remain in my fields. Nodded politely when Miranda waved from her shiny black SUV while they were rejoicing, selling lots like conquerors. I documented all photos of each construction infraction, every disregarded environmental rule, every bulldozer tree I videotaped, conversations, saved letters, dug up shady zoning permits from public records in Amos's former workshop near the dam. I constructed a citadel of evidence, biding my time. They believed I was broken. They did not know the earth doesn't curve because you pave it. They didn't realize the dam 80 years ago, a flood had covered this valley, destroying homes, fields, whole families. Amos at the time, a young man, lugged sandbags with neighbors, powerless against the muddy wall when the crisis was over. He made a promise. It'd never occur again. No engineer but damn stubborn as hell, he worked years constructing that damn stone, earth, wood, and sheer will. It stayed back, the mountain fury drying the valley out while the other counties were flooded. But memory dwindles. Time the HO used to view the dam as ugly, something to level for fountains and cul-de-sacs. They asphalted drainage channels, redirected creeks, and unday. I stood among the tree as tobacco ripped at the dam's shoulder. Not quite deep, but enough to injury it. I was so angry, wanting to holler to rage instead. I kept quiet. They didn't even disrespect the earth. They didn't know it. And that was their ruin. I stopped keeping up the dam, no longer patching leaks, clearing channels, or shoring up cracks. I let trash accumulate, silt pile, pressure boil. I became a specter roaming the woods while they hosted barbecues on half-finished patios. When fall rains arrived early, I drank coffee on my porch. As puddles gathered in their immaculate lawns, winter ran into a soggy spring, and I strolled the dam's edge, observing wider cracks, sinking earth where the backhoe had hit. I didn't break the dam fat. It'd be a crime. I just halted saving it. Nature doesn't require my assistance to settle scores. The hoe's hubris accelerated their storm drains, clogged lawns slipped into retention ponds, redirected creeks, defied ignoring their blueprints. The initial large storms were a warning. Sinkholes and vacant lots, flooded basement. Miranda blamed unseasonal rain ordering, additional dirt, additional fixes, additional fees for homeowners. They disregarded the ground shaking beneath them. I remained quiet, nodding when I saw Miranda at the gas station, her self-satisfied reports of Stone Creek's prosperity sounding hollow. It wasn't revenge, it was justice, as ancient as the mountain itself. The rainy season struck like a fist. The first storm rolled in, relentless and unmerciful, pounding the valley until the air vibrated with tension from my porch thermos. In hand, I observed the rain engulf the mountains, and fog and Stone Creek porch lights flashed like fireflies. I knew the clay would expand, the topsoil would crack, and the dam, torn, abused, wouldn't last hour upon hour. I strolled the old fields now, a mosaic of half-finished houses, cracks split. New sidewalks, water drew in cul-de-sacs oozing into basement. I passed Miranda's mansion, all columns and faux stone, and spotted her in the window, cursing into her phone. Construction workers scrambled, piling sandbags, digging trenches that only made the flood worse. It was nearly beautiful, like a tide destroying a sandcastle. The second storm was colder, angrier, crashing down the mountain with vengeance. The air thickened, my skin tingling. The dam creaked, leaks spreading into muddy wounds, a fist-sized breach. Spat water, then another. I stood on a ridge, rain on my face, as the earth shook with a roar that rattled my bones. The dam collapsed, not explosion, but a slow, brutal break. Tons of angry water ripped through shredding trees, taking back its ancient path, straight through Stone Creek houses. Disappeared roofs drifting like wreckage streets, caved engulfing cars and mailboxes. Miranda's mansion lingered a moment longer, her shadow yelling on the porch. Then the water slammed, liquefying her grass. The house cracked in two, half sinking into the flood, the other crashing in a shudder of broken columns in minutes. Stone Creek was destroyed. Emergency teams waded in too late, their sirens ineffective against the mountains. Wrath I watched, dry and calm. Heart steady, guilt tugged, but satisfaction roared louder. I'd warned them. Filed notices, sent emails, all notarized and ignored legally. I was clear. Insurance adjusters came poking ruins, denying claims. Act of God, they said, negligence. The lawyers countered. Miranda sued everyone, county developers, me. Nothing stuck. Investigations uncovered her empire of bribes, fake reports, and illegal filings. Homeowners sued, banks folded, and Stone Creek's name became a curse. Miranda lost her SUV, her jewelry, her pride fleeing to a cousin's house, broke in the HOA, dissolved in lawsuits and shame. Quietly, I filed for adverse possession. No one opposed me. The land, muddy scar, returned acre by acre. I rebuilt the dam, hauling rocks with old-timers who recalled Amos. It was not fancy, but it was sturdy. I let the fields run wild, creeks find their course, dearest return on a crisp autumn day. I planted a cedar post by the highway, hanging a sign. Welcome to Thorns Hollow. We respect the land below, in smaller letters built by nature, guarded by memory at dawn. I sat on the dam's crest, coffee in hand, watching the valley glow. Gold scars lingered, a warped manhole, a tilted fence, but nature was patient. I thought of Amos, his hands shaping this land of Miranda, drowning in her own lies of the flood that stole her kingdom and restored mine. The mountain grumbled, not wrathful, but satisfied. I raised my thermos to the past, the land the truth, and smiled as sun-flooded thorns hollow with